Hey everyone, it is Dr. Lindsay with Chiropractic Women of Color. Oh, you were fast. You jumped on right away. So, hello everyone. Today we are going live with Dr. Megan Henry. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. So, today we're just going to kind of just have a conversation and talk about some stuff, get to know you a little better so we can share you with the platform. So if you are watching, first of all, thank you for supporting Chiropractic Women of Color. We're building this community to provide unity, create a source of motivation and inspiration. All right, so Dr. Henry, why don't you just go ahead and start off by just giving us an introduction and tell us a little bit about how you got into chiropractic.
All right, so how you guys doing? I'm Dr. Megan. I go by Dr. Megan. I graduated from Life University in June of 2018, and the way that I kind of got introduced to chiropractic was by a recruiter, by Michael Harris. A lot of people in the field know who Michael Harris is, and he
Mhm.
recruited a lot of the Black students in the chiropractic profession. So yeah, I was recruited by Michael Harris. He came down to FAMU in Tallahassee, and he spoke about chiropractic. And I just knew after he spoke that that was something that I was interested in, and I just started to pursue that more. And I didn't know anything about it really at all. But then I went to Life Leadership Weekend, and they spoke about the philosophy of chiropractic and how the body was self healing, self maintaining, and self organizing. And yeah, I just knew from that weekend definitely that I was going to be a chiropractor after that. So yeah, I graduated in 2018 and from Life University here in Atlanta, Georgia, and now I practice here in Atlanta. I actually contract out of one office and associate out of another one, so I'm kind of Cairo hustling. And
Okay, there's a lot of us doing that.
yeah, yeah. So, but I absolutely love what I do, and I absolutely love being a chiropractor.
Awesome. So what do you specialize in? Like
Right
for
now, I specialize in pregnancy and pediatrics. I definitely love my Cairo mommies. I have a particular focus on Black women, maternal health, because you know that three three to four we're 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. And so I'm really big on making sure that my patients are self advocates, that they know to assert themselves and know to just advocate for themselves. And if it doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't right. And so then in the mommies, in the mommies and the little babies.
mommies and the babies. And so one thing that you brought out about talking about is maternal health. I wanted to bring up, you wrote like a while back, you actually wrote an article. It was Black chiropractors and DC's roles in Black health. And it was, well, first of all, congratulations. It was published in
Thank you.
Chiropractic Economics. So that's awesome. If you guys are watching and you have not read her article, be sure to read it. I think it's in her link in her bio. So definitely check it out. But some of the things you just talked about, you talked about how we're some of the least healthy individuals. We die more from chronic diseases, heart disease, breast cancer, and things of that nature. And so one thing you talked about in your article, and I have it right here because there were some great talking points in there. You talked about like how the disparities in our community, they're not coincidences. So you have all this systematic oppression. We had experimentation in the medical field where that created mistrust. So a lot of us, our communities, don't necessarily trust healthcare providers. And so that's why it's so important for us to represent and be in our communities to help. So what inspired you to pretty much like write this article?
Well, I feel like I have been writing that article since I started chiropractic school, to be honest.
Mm.
This was like my mission from day one, because when I first learned about chiropractic, it was something that, it was just a new way of thinking about health, and I had never heard of it before, and I knew that it could help our community a lot, especially because we suffer from like lifestyle diseases mostly.
Yep.
And I was really like shocked that I had never heard of chiropractic before, or like anyone going to a chiropractor, or even about that way of holistic health and lifestyle modifications, and just even how important your spine is. So, and I consider myself fairly educated, at that point. And so I was just like, why hadn't anyone taught our community, especially these things? Because we need it more than ever. And I believe that if we just knew, the same way that we didn't know about chiropractic, when a lot of us didn't know about chiropractic before we decided to be chiropractors.
Right.
We fell in love with the philosophy and the idea of health probably before we were even adjusted ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that if we just tell our community the same things that we heard, that they will gravitate to it the same way that we did, because it's simple and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's just always been my mission to make sure that people just know what we know. Not to force them to come to chiropractic per se, but if you just know these things about health, you'll make those decisions on your own. So educating has always been just something that I have been passionate about and has been my mission since I've started chiropractic school, really.
And that's awesome, because that's one of the key components that we have to be willing to educate our community. Because even now, like with the reason why I started my brand, Healthy Motives 365, was because I wanted to motivate people, particularly women of color, Black women, to take care of their health and prevent some of these chronic diseases that we're suffering from. And so it is important for us to, educate each other. For one, I knew about, the only reason I knew about chiropractic was because my dad, he actually did go to a chiropractor when I was younger, but I was never familiar with everything that they did. And actually, originally, I was actually going to be a veterinarian. So I went and got a bachelor's degree in zoology. And the reason why I ended up in chiropractic school was I ended up my senior year, of undergrad, I got pregnant with my oldest son. And so in order to go to vet school, I was either going to, the University of Missouri or University of Illinois. And both of those was like 3 hours away. So I'm thinking, like, young mom, no support, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I really don't want to be that far away. And so there was actually this guy in my, he was in my zoology lab, and he talked about, I'm going to chiropractic. It's right. Chiropractic school is right in like St. Louis. And then I started to look into it, and I was telling my dad about it. And he was like, yeah. He was like, but you want to be a veterinarian? He was like gung ho on me. I had been talking
Yeah.
about being a veterinarian since I was like 7, and my dog died, and I wanted to like save all dogs. And so, but we ended up going to the open house, which was like the Slice of Logan. And from there, I just like literally just fell in love with it, and just learning and educating myself and, my family. It really did change my life for the better, being healthier and just being cognizant about like the choices that we make in everyday life. So I definitely think it's important for us to teach, our community about it, because once you really educate people about it, it's like their mind is like, oh my God,
Yes.
I didn't know that you guys did all this. So it's like amazing. It's like a light bulb turns on.
Exactly. And then when I'm in office and I'm teaching them about their spine and about how the nervous system works and just how their body works, it's like they never heard it before. No one's ever really taught them that. No
Exactly.
one's, yeah. And it was like, oh, I didn't even know that I could come here for more than just a car accident or more than just being injured. I'm like, yeah, you come for regular, spinal hygiene.
Mhm.
So just educating, and they take to it. They understand. They definitely
They do, 'cause
understand.
they think about, like you said, my biggest thing when I became a chiropractor was like in our community, oh, I wasn't in a car accident. So they
Mm-hmm.
do associate chiropractic with pain, but that's why it's important to get into details like pulling out the Merritt chart and relating the nervous system to everything
Mm-hmm.
it controls. And I found out once I do that and explain it to them, they're like, oh my God, so
Yeah.
it definitely. So it's important for those of you who are out there watching, if you're students, making sure that you are practicing on like explaining chiropractic and the philosophy and how it works, because that's how you're going to get individuals to really, say, okay, I understand this, versus just coming to you for a temporary fix and then going on about their life, and incorporating holistic health, nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, and all that awesome stuff too. One other thing I wanted to ask about. So you also started, it's called Chiro Junkie, which is
Yeah.
chiropractic for the culture, which I love. So what is that about? Like, what inspired you to do that?
It's the same mission. It's my same mission that I've always had. It's just to spread chiropractic into the Black communities. And I feel like the best way to do that is to promote more Black chiropractors as well.
Right.
And I believe that as we are more out there and seen and noticeable, and know, like, it's a lot of us. It's not, I
It
mean,
is.
there's a lot of us, more than we thought. Now,
Yeah.
percentage wise, we still need to get
Not so
a
much.
lot more, but you just be surprised how many of this there are actually out there. And I feel like seeing us not only like inspires the next generation of chiropractors, but it
Mhm.
just sparks the interest that, hey, this is something that our community actually does. Because sometimes you'll hear that, chiropractic is not for the Black community, or,
Right.
that's not something that we do. But if I highlight and I show like, hey, it's a lot of us, it's a lot of chiropractors. There are, even though we're still small in numbers, there are Black people who come to the chiropractor, and these are the reasons why you should go. And I'm trying to do it in a way that's just fun, a way
Yeah.
that people will be attracted to it just innately, I should say.
Yeah, and whenever you can relate to somebody and you see somebody like you, like I love the term representation matters. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, if you like, we kind of live in this bubble because, like you said, it's a lot of us, but it's not net percentage wise when you think of like the whole profession. Because I graduated back in like 2008. And so now with like social media, Instagram, and things of that
Yeah.
nature, it is amazing. And I get excited. Like I really didn't realize it was so many Black chiropractors,
Mm-hmm.
especially females, you know what I mean? And so like when I first graduated, I think Facebook had been around, but I don't know when Instagram started, but it wasn't like, I don't think it had started back then. It was like 2008. And so it wasn't like that source of motivation and inspiration where you see other people that look like you, like, okay, she's doing it, and reaching out to people and getting mentors and things of that nature. So now I
Yeah.
definitely think it's
It's
going to make a
introducing
difference.
us to each other too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why this whole platform, Chiropractic Women of Color, is awesome because it's like we are trying to create, a unit, a community, so
Mm-hmm.
we can, create a
Support
directory,
each
help
other.
each other out, inspire, and just build because everybody else does it. So,
And it's what
like,
our community needs. Our
yeah,
community needs us, and we work better when we're together. We aren't really
definitely.
each other's competition. There's more than enough spines out there for everyone. So there's no need for us not to support each other and to help each other, because that's how we're really going to get that influence in our community the way that we want.
Right. And then that's how we're also going to get our profession to grow as a whole as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's tapping into our community because we still like only serve, I don't know what the percentage is now, but it was like 10 or
Yeah.
11% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to get to that, for chiropractic to be more accepted on the mainstream, we got to educate and then we have to serve our communities and come together. And I think it's awesome because we always have like, you think about, you have individuals who are like, well, I have people that follow me and they're like in a totally different state. And they're like, oh, I wish you were closer. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, guess
Well, I
what?
know this
I
one.
know
Yeah.
this person in here and I can refer you because we do that in the American Black Chiropractic
Mm-hmm.
Association. We want to do this, with this, group or whatever. And so it's all about collaboration. And like you said, it's more than enough spines for everybody. You know what I mean? And it's like the bigger whole, the bigger picture.
Yeah. And just like Guy Rickman, the past president of Life University, he used to quote this. Malcolm Gladwell is called the tipping point theory, where it takes 18% of a population in order to adopt a new idea. So as far as chiropractic goes, it would take 18% of the population to adopt chiropractic in order for it to reach mass acceptance. And I always
Mm-hmm.
say that in order for us to even get to that 18%, it's going to take us. It's going to take the Black
Oh,
community and the minorities as well. So yeah, like to your point, in order for the profession to grow as a whole, our community has to be a part of the story, part of the conversation too.
right. That's so true. What was I going to ask you next? Okay, so and we kind of already talked about this, but do you have any like as far as like I know you said that you do independent contractor and then associate in another office. So do you have any tips about either for any students that may be watching or people who are thinking about like, okay, I'm getting ready to graduate, what do I want to do?
Yeah, I would say the first couple of years out, be flexible. You're gonna go into some offices that you like. You're gonna go into some offices that you're not gonna like what they're gonna go. Sometimes this may not be a good fit. Um, I would just say be flexible, be ready to hustle, because when you first get out, um, you're probably not gonna get paid what you thought you were getting paid when you first get out. So it is a hustle. Be creative. There's a lot of different things that you can do in chiropractic besides just be a chiropractor. We do have teachers. We have just different type of clinicians. We know stretch therapists, all sorts of
Mhm.
things. Like if you haven't passed your boards yet. But
Research, that's important too.
yeah, research. Yeah, definitely. We definitely need a good research department. But there are all sorts of opportunities out there that you just have to be flexible and you have to find them. Be patient.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
said, the first couple of years out, I cannot lie. It's a Cairo hustle. It's a Cairo hustle. Um, I also, when I first got out, I did have a small boutique office that I was running on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was probably one of my biggest kind of regrets. I didn't want to close my office down at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the confidence level when I first got out, I didn't have anybody, to compare myself to. I was just out there doing things, and I wasn't really sure of myself the way I should have been. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to make sure that you're as confident as you can be when you get out. Know that you are probably as good as your counterpart, if not better, and just do it. Be fearless and go after what you want.
And that is the biggest thing. I can attest to that as well, is confidence. Because when I first started off, I did an independent contractor
Mm-hmm.
in another doctor's office. And for me, it was that time, I used that time to build confidence, because you think
Mm-hmm.
about, like you said, when you first graduate, you've learned all of these different things. You're thinking about
Mm-hmm.
adjusting and exams and x-rays and all this stuff. And so you can think like, okay, do I really know what I'm doing? But you do, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And it's
exactly.
not about,
Yeah.
like you said, it's not about like comparing yourself, because everybody has a different journey and you don't know what that individual has gone through. So it's about really just kind of fighting that fear and, just doing it anyway, because a lot of times when you get on the other side of fear, it's not as bad as you thought it was.
It never is. It never is. And I have to deal with my fears and my anxieties. I do so, like, I find myself in so many different positions that I don't really feel like qualified for, I guess I should say.
Hey, me too.
And
That
I have
imposter
to,
syndrome.
yeah, exactly. And I know I when it comes up, I feel it, and you just gotta go through it and do it anyway,
Mhm.
because it's never that bad. It's really never that bad at the end of the day.
It's not. And I don't know if I was listening to a podcast. It was talking about some research how there are a lot of people who are super successful that still suffer from imposter syndrome. So no
Mm-hmm.
matter how successful, whatever your definition of success is, because it's a relative term, depending on what you think it is, there's always some level of, okay, do I know what I'm doing? Am I good enough? So everybody goes through that. And so if some of the most successful people in the world are having those feelings, then again, in order for them to get to where they're at, they still had to just fight through it and keep doing
Yeah,
it. And I
exactly.
always say, like, sloppy progress is better than no progress. You're gonna make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes, you may, stumble and say something wrong, but that's how you learn and grow, is you just keep practicing.
You keep going, and then you'll find yourself better than you even thought that you would ever be. You
Mhm.
imagine what I just posted the other day is, like, I remember when you couldn't find the PSIS.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Like,
you couldn't find the PSIS back when you first started a chiropractic school, but now you just you know innately where to go on the patient, and your adjustments are going well, and then you just sit and think like, yeah, you came a really, really long way.
and
So
you do that by, like you said, putting yourself out there
hmm
and practicing.
yep,
Okay.
you just got to do it.
She said, so Dr. Fit Mama, which is Dr. Rocky. Hey, Dr. Rocky, she said, we have to remember we only need to know more than 10% of the people you want to teach. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yes. So what else? So in your practice, I know you said you focus on pediatrics and also pregnant women. So are you Webster certified, and did you go through ICPA or?
I am Webster certified. I'm still going through the ICPA classes. Corona, and then Dr. Ohm died, and then Corona
Yeah.
hit. So I hadn't really been active in the classes the way I need to get the diplomate. But I am certified in Webster, so I do Webster on my patients.
So are the classes now, do they have like in-person options now? Or are they virtual, or how?
Last time I looked, they were virtual. I think they was trying to get some more in person, like trying to get it started back up. But the last time I looked, they were virtual.
No, okay.
Mm.
Cool. So I did share a post the other day. So just it is Women's History Month. And so for the first time in history, the executive board of the American Black Chiropractic Association is all women, which is
Awesome.
amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. So you're the secretary on
Yes,
American.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm the secretary. I've actually been a member of the ABCA since I was a student. At Life, I started off as the historian of my chapter, and then I became the president of my chapter, and then I became national student representative for the ABCA before I became secretary, really. So I've been a part of the ABCA my whole chiropractic career, and it's been something that has afforded me so many opportunities. I know that, and all it really took was for me to show up, you know. I didn't really seek out anything. It was just me showing up to the meetings and being interested in what they were doing, and the opportunities kind of sucked me, came to me. So, like you mentioned, the article that I wrote, that was purely from me being a member of the ABCA, and as well as some, effort I did on my own. I write blogs on my own webpage, and things that I do on my own. But they came to me and asked me to write the article for the magazine for chiropractic economics. And so, just my association with the ABCA has bought me a lot of little things like that. I was able to go to Washington D.C. because of the ABCA. Oh no, I went to Greeley, Colorado because of the ABCA,
Mhm.
to the national board headquarters, and they had like a student leadership forum, and they only invite the top, I think, 5 chiropractic organizations to bring student members in there. So the ABCA was the only representation for Black chiropractors at that event, and I was able to go because of the ABCA. But yeah,
That's
I love it.
awesome.
I love the ABCA. I think that we are heading in a really great direction in the next couple of the next year or so. And yeah, I'm just excited to be a part of it.
And I can definitely attest to that too, because my role on the board now is, helping with the board reviews and things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. And so, which is a new component, which is so important for us to be able to pass our board so we can get into practice, and, serve our communities if that's your choice as well. Because again, like you said, we have different options. We have, being in education, we have
Mm-hmm.
research because I'm in education as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach as well as practice.
Where do you
But
teach?
what do you say?
I said, where do you teach?
Oh, so I'm in Houston, Texas. So I'm at San
Oh,
Jacinto
okay. Okay.
College.
Okay.
And so right now I'm the department chair of health sciences. So I have 5 programs that are under me. And so mainly when I was like in the classroom, I taught like anatomy and physiology, which is I absolutely love, medical terminology, things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. But that's also a great way to like when you're hustling and you're building a practice to also supplement your income as well. Because I know, like you said, it's a Chiro hustle. When I first started, after I left my independent contractorship, like when I first started practicing, and then me and another doctor, we shared space. Like so, when we didn't have like a lot of patients, I was doing personal training, I was teaching part time, and
Yeah,
I had my
you
office
hustle
because
when
I
you
was
first
using
start.
all that money to help fund my practice. Because it's at that point I was young, I didn't like wasn't nobody gonna give me a loan, so it's like I got to figure out what I need to do to keep this thing going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a hustle.
And you definitely grow a lot in that time, and you see how much you are actually able and to accomplish and to do. And yeah, it just boosts your confidence.
Yeah, and that's one thing you also, because a lot of times I know when I was, in my younger days, I was like, when is this stuff going to take off? When is this going to work or whatever? But a lot of it, you have to, like they say, trust the process. Like every single
Yes.
thing that you go through and you experience is preparing you for that moment when it's going to take off. Because you think about this, like if you open up a new practice and all of a sudden you have this influx of people, then okay, if you don't have procedures in place, protocols in place, you don't have, you know what I mean, or just
Yeah.
perfecting your craft and the way that you're adjusting and all these things. But now you have all these people. If you're not delivering, then those individuals, you know what I mean? Like the best, referral is word of mouth. So it's giving you time to, hone your craft and build those skills and build that confidence that you need. And so just again, trust the process and enjoy the journey of becoming whoever
Right.
you are,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be.
And that's what I think also. When I had my small boutique office, I was such like in my head, I was overwhelmed. I wasn't just enjoying the process. It was
Right.
always very stressful, and you know, honestly, you feel like a failure, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so letting go of my office, it hurt, but I realized that I learned so many lessons there, and that it's only going to make me better when I fully open up my own place again. And yeah, you just have to go through the process. So now I'm more so enjoying the growth of what
Mm-hmm.
my brand of Chiro Junkie, of even in my offices where I'm working, I'm seeing the growth of my patients, seeing them get better, seeing my mommies have babies, like all of that is just like I'm really enjoying my processes not now.
Yeah, and that's awesome because we do, like you said, just everything you're going through is for a reason. And so I experienced that like the first time, you know, like you said, feeling like a failure the first time I was in practice, and eventually ended up, you know, closing my office due to like my situation was a little different. Even though it was a hustle and a struggle, I was still trying to grow it and make it happen. On top of that, I was a young mom. So then I had these two kids that, you know, I feel like I'm always away. Like one thing, the one reason I really like this really got to me, I had my youngest, he had this like preschool project, right? And so he had this book, and they were like, "What does daddy do?" And he was like, "Oh, dad feeds me. He plays games with me. He does everything." Then he was like, then it was like, "What does mommy do?" And it was like, "Mommy goes to work and sits in a chair." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
bro,
yeah.
that like so like got to my soul." And I had to think like, okay, like in reality, thinking from a child, he was maybe like 2 or 3 at the time. Well, probably like 3 or 4 at the time. Like that was his perspective of like what was going on. And so I'm like, at the time I was still young. I was like, you know what? I need to pull back a little bit because, you
I
know,
think
they're
that's one
only young
thing
once.
we struggle as women. Like that's one
Yeah.
of the unique things that we have. I don't have any children myself, but feeling like, you know, having time for our children, having time for our families, having time to be, you know, the woman of our households and
Mhm.
run a whole business and be the doctor and be who our patients need us to be.
Right.
So finding that balance is something that I've actually been trying to work on myself. I don't have any children, but still is trying to
But it's
find that
still, you
balance.
know. And
Yeah.
then, like, you know, thinking about balance, and we've mentioned this before, like, you know, it's hard to find, like, because there's going to always be some aspects of your
Mm-hmm.
life that you have to pay a little bit more attention to, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so, with me having all these different roles going on, you know, for women, like you said, it is different. Like with me at that time, like I was the only chiropractor. My spouse wasn't a chiropractor, so he couldn't hold the office down while I handled,
Mm-hmm.
you know, my business or whatever. So it was like, okay, what else at this point? What else can I do? You know what I mean? But that that goes to say, like, when you think about building a practice, think about the practice, the type of practice that you want, and create the type of life that you want, and don't frame your goals and practice off of what you see somebody else doing.
Yes.
So if you see somebody like, oh, I see 400
Mm-hmm.
patients a week. Okay, and you're like, okay, now I got to see 400
Yeah, I got
patients. Do you want
exactly.
to see that many patients a week? Because you
Mm-hmm.
think about it like this, and if you do, that's great. But again, if that's not what you truly want to do, but you feel as though you have to do that to be successful, then you're always going to feel like you're a failure. So it's about, you know, figuring out what you truly want, you know, in practice, how you want to practice, and then build your life around that. Because that's currently what I'm doing now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And knowing that chiropractic gives us the freedom to kind of create our careers the way that we want it to be and for
Yeah.
it to look the way that we want it to look. And so this, you know, my office doesn't have to look like your office, or I don't have to practice exactly the way that you practice, as long as we're all remaining within our scope of practice.
Right.
I think a little bit we have to get over is the judgment of each other. You know,
Mm.
sometimes too. You're
Yes,
like,
that
okay,
is
well,
so true.
this doctor doesn't do that, or does do something, I don't know, a different
Yeah.
type of adjustment, or doesn't do modalities or anything like that. And we kind of judge each other, or maybe a chiropractor is not in practice right now for whatever reason. And we find a reason to judge each other. But there is roles for us. There is always a role for us. It may not actually just be the adjusting doctor. Like it could
Right.
be the owner of the office. You might fund the office for other chiropractors to work in it. So I want to see us stop judging each other so much. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's a
Yeah.
lot of that. And we, since we judge each other so much, a lot of times that is what makes people kind of like keep to themselves and not want to, like, you know, connect, because then
Hmm.
it's kind of like, oh, well, where do you practice at? And if you're not practicing, you're like,
Yeah, exactly.
you
You
know,
don't
and
want to
that's
step
kind of
away
the way
from
I
that.
felt for a long time when I stopped practicing. It was kind of like, are people going to judge me? I'm a doctor. I graduated, but I'm not practicing. So that
Hmm.
was something I had to mentally get over. Yeah, it was something that I actually wanted to get back into, but feeling guilty or feeling like a failure, you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
not is not the case, you know what I mean? So you never
And
never have to do it.
I think platforms like this, like yours, Chiropractic Women of Color, it allows us to, you know, just share our stories and know that, okay, look, I went through similar struggles. You're gonna
Yeah.
be okay. You know, you're not alone in that, and that, you know, we can help each other, we can support each other. So what you're doing here, Chiropractic Women of Color, is awesome.
Yes, and shout out to Dr. Rocky too. She's on.
Good.
She started this thing, and it was funny. I had an idea, and I wanted to start something like this, and we're both in Houston. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, you know what? Like, let me reach out to her and see if she needs some help." And
Hmm.
she was so like open to, yes, please. You know what I mean? And so knowing that we're all out here, individually, but trying to bring us together to, create unity just to help each other out and inspire. Because when we show like vulnerability and we're transparent about our journey, then it gives everybody else hope. Because if you have this mindset, like if I wouldn't share my story and people looked at me, they'd be like, oh, dang, she just got it all together. No,
Right.
I do not, ma'am.
Hmm.
I do not. And I'm still growing and learning every single day with starting a new practice. Like I started my own practice, what was it, in the beginning of January?
I seen, yeah.
With kids versus schooling, and still working like in a my 9 to 5, which is financing my practice. So I got a lot, a lot
Going
going
on.
on. But again, I'm still doing things to help balance and take care of myself. So that brings another topic up. What do you do for like self-care to keep yourself, like we're service providers, we're always giving. What do you do to kind of help keep yourself together?
Well, I do yoga.
Oh,
I try to get up in the morning and stretch and, do some of the things that I do tell my patients to do, which is get up and stretch your muscles out, take some time to like breathe and to meditate and get my mind together about what I'm doing for my day. Um, After work, I don't know. After work, I just relax. I'm always thinking about the next day though. I can't lie.
mhm.
I'm always thinking about, okay, this is what I need to do for my practice. This is what I need to do as far as marketing. This is what I need to do, even as far as, taking care of my house and taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of finding some balance, finding some more better self-care tips, making sure I get my workout routine in there too. That's
Yeah.
one thing I found. When you're in the grind and trying to
Mhm.
build, you kind of lose track of things like working out or making
Mhm.
sure that you're eating your meals every day. Sometimes I realize, okay, did I even eat today? Because
Oh
I'm
my
just
God,
sitting
I do
there.
this sometimes. Why I have a headache? Oh, I haven't eaten anything.
Exactly. So just been trying to modify actually my self-care routine to get it a little bit more together.
And that's you said something. You said actually doing what I'm telling my patients to do. And that's one big thing. Like we're
Hmm.
so educated and we give all this advice and tips to our patients. And then we also have to remember, like, we need to practice what we preach as well. Cause a lot
Hmm.
of times, like we can literally, burn ourselves out if we're not like,
Taking
taking care of
time.
ourselves and resting. And one thing that you said, another thing you said was constantly thinking about like the next day. That's something that, I'm really, really bad at that because
Yeah,
I'll go to bed at night, get ready to go to sleep, and I'm like, oh, I got to do this tomorrow. So then I'll
yeah,
get my phone out and I'll put a calendar
exactly. Note
reminder in
taking.
there or something like that. One thing that I did start and I need to start doing again is instead of pulling my phone out and actually put in my calendar, is just keeping a notebook. So that way I don't
Yeah.
have to look at my phone and the screen and stuff like that and just write it down. So in the morning I can see it. But it seems like when I lay down, it's like a mind dump. Like I think
Yeah.
about all these things that I have to do tomorrow. So I'm glad it's just not me, but
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's in the grind season. You constantly thinking and being entrepreneurs. I think that's another thing too. We come out of chiropractic school, most of us going straight through school,
Mhm.
never really have working a real job, and you come out being a doctor and a business owner.
Right.
And
It's a lot.
so that's a lot to juggle. It's a lot to juggle at one time, trying to figure out, am I a good doctor? And am I running my business, well enough that I'm getting paid? And if you have employees, that your employees are paid as well, because they're depending on you as
Right.
well. So yeah, just trying to get into those systems the same way you formulate those systems in your office to make your office run better. Creating those systems in your life so that you can be as good as you can be for your patients as well and your family.
Yeah, and that's another thing you were talking about business. Like I know when I went to school, and I keep hearing this, so I guess it hasn't really changed. There's not a lot of incorporation of like you know how to be a doctor, but necessarily not knowing like how to run a business. And I think that's important because um like if you do plan to ever get to the point where you want to have your own practice, you know, taking like, you know, business classes or
Mm-hmm.
seminars and just kind of working on those things like marketing and, you know, bookkeeping and all those different things. Because especially like now, I do like all my marketing myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so just kind of like, oh,
And
did
then
I
you
do this?
got
Did
to
I put
monitor
money? Did I
whether
do,
or
you
not.
know what I mean? On top of seeing new patients, and then, oh, you know, it's a lot. So, really getting to the point where you know, go get additional education, just like we go to the seminars to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
perfect our chiropractic craft. So that way
And
you're
going
learning, like,
outside of chiropractic too for business.
yes, oh,
You got
yes,
to
yes,
go
yes.
outside of the chiropractic world to find some good business help. Definitely.
Right, because we all like, even if you have a doctor that, you know, has an awesome business and maybe going learning from somebody else that's outside looking, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, because
Because
they also
they
have
have a
different
different
perspectives.
view, a different
Yeah, they
perspective,
have
you know.
different perspectives on what we do as well. And so that can be helpful just from like an advertisement or making yourself stand out. Because if you talk to someone who doesn't know exactly what we do, they can tell us, you know, from their perspective what they
Right.
think and what may work for us and not. So I do try to seek out resources that's not necessarily chiropractic, but you know, business, other ways of just thinking.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point, like with marketing, because if, say, for example, that you create an ad and in your mind it makes sense, you understand it, you show it to another chiropractor, like, yeah, because we're familiar with this.
Yeah,
But if you
exactly.
show it to somebody that knows nothing about chiropractic, they're gonna be like, okay, what does this mean? I don't understand this, you know.
Hmm.
And so again, giving you that different perspective
One
of
thing, and even something really small, like the office I work in now is called Vining Spine and Health Center.
mhm,
And one of my friends was like, "Oh well, you know, I wouldn't even know that was a chiropractor if you didn't tell me. I guess
mhm,
because it didn't have chiropractic in the name of
mhm, yeah,
the building." And I was like, you know, I never would have thought about that because you know I automatically would have thought that of a chiropractor when I saw that.
right.
But for him, he thought maybe it would have been, I guess, any other type of spinal doctor. But he's like, I didn't think chiropractic when I first read that sign. So I was like,
And
okay,
that's a good
that's a good
point too,
perspective.
actually having the word chiropractic in there so people know. Like, because
Hmm.
like you said, you see spine, oh, chiropractic, we automatically
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Chiropractic.
Yeah, but they might think like spinal surgeons or any other sort of things.
All right. So does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna check and see. Do we have any questions? Um, I don't think we do here. So, Dr. Megan, do
Yes.
you have anything else you would like to share? Any tips, any advice for like a doc that's either in school or a doc that's getting ready to graduate and jump into this profession? Do you have any advice?
Um, let's see. I always say be flexible. I feel like I said, as Black people coming into chiropractic, a lot of times we're not exposed to everything that chiropractic can be. So I
Right.
know when I first came into chiropractic, I was very I want to say scientific minded or logical or like real mechanistic. And so when we were speaking about maybe pregnancy and children, I always said I didn't want to work with them when I first got into when I first got into chiropractic. I didn't want to I didn't want to have children in my office or
Mm-hmm.
babies. But then I took a course, a pediatric course, and I just fell in love with it. But I didn't think I was
Mm-hmm.
going to head in that direction. And you took a variety of different classes, you know, just to see what you actually like in
Yeah.
chiropractic because there's
There's
so
so
much
many
stuff.
things.
Yeah, it's so many things. So, yeah, like I said, be flexible. Try to plan as much as you can after as far as what you want to do after graduation. Oh, and take a break after graduation.
Mm.
Definitely
I had
take
to
a
take a
break.
mandatory. I was pregnant when I graduated, so I had to take a break. But it really
Yeah.
wasn't a break because then I had a baby. So
Yeah, I don't think I hadn't taken a full vacation. I graduated in June. I got my license in August, and I pretty much worked that day I got my
you just
license.
jump right into
Yes.
it.
And now I'm still trying to figure out when I'm gonna take my vacation. So take some time at the chiropractic school, especially if you go straight through. If you went through undergrad, went straight through chiropractic school, take some time while you're getting your license, you know, get your mind right, try to figure out where you want to be, how you want to practice, do you want to associate, independent contract. uh, there's also like sometimes you can have a mentorship training you. Kind of different than like a practice management. They have practice management, but
Yeah.
there are doctors who will basically train you or and give you like their expertise while you're making money in their office. So it's kind of like, getting free information from them.
Right.
So try to find things like that. Definitely find mentors. The ABCA is a great source for all types of mentors. All my mentors are basically ABCA members, and I've called them to discuss contracts. I've called them to discuss systems in my office or even grievances, things I've dealt with. So having a good a good resource, a good network is good too.
Yeah, building relationships. Yo, B Marcel said I'm the friend. I worked
Oh
next door for months. I had no clue.
yeah, the binding spine. Yeah, that was him. He didn't know the binding spine was a chiropractor.
No. Yeah, so again, building relationships, and that is the point of this platform. So, Dr. Magen, I'm so happy that you took some time out to
Glad you
spend some
guys
time
had
with us
me.
today. So, everybody who's out there watching now, or those of you who will be watching in the future, make sure that you check out her page, Chiro Junkie. Great information, great motivation. We also will be we have a YouTube channel now, so we put in all these interviews on YouTube as well. So make sure that you follow and subscribe. And also, if you want to get interviewed, if you are a doc, if you are a student, if you are a new doctor that's out there, we want to get perspectives from everybody, because again, we're creating a platform, for us to help motivate and inspire. And hopefully one day in the future, we'll be able to come together, even if we all meet at the APCA conference, which is, what
Yeah,
is it, June 3rd through
June
6th, you know
3rd.
what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep,
So
in
that'd be
Oakland,
awesome.
California. So I will
Yeah,
be there.
I
Dr.
will be
Banks will
there.
be there. So yeah. And also what I'm trying to extend my Chiro Junkie Black chiropractors near me. And so I am going to be looking for people in other cities besides Atlanta to kind of help me gather like
Mhm.
names and information of the chiropractors in their areas. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah. So I'm probably gonna be reaching out to to
Yeah,
anyone.
and that's what
Really.
we're doing. We're trying to get as many doctors. So I know
Hmm.
it's crazy. I've learned of a lot of Black female chiropractors in Houston. I think
Exactly.
that at least 8 already. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I know it's more out there. So
Yeah.
again, reaching out to people, and trying to get them to, like you said, join and create a network. And I think that's awesome what you have. Like I
And
think I
now
read your
is our
post
time
earlier.
too.
And you
I think
said
now
that,
is
like,
the
even if
time.
I'm not your cup of tea, here are some other doctors, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because everybody, and that's one thing, like, just be you. The people who
Exactly.
are attracted to you are going to be attracted to you, no matter if you working next door to somebody. The people that are for you are going to find you. That's your tribe. And so don't try to change yourself or be something that you're not, because you're only going to be able to fake for so long, and then you're going to be unhappy. So be you. Whatever your
Exactly.
personality is, whatever it is, just do you.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, I don't think we have any more comments. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Oh, like Dr. Rocky always says, okay, let's look at the camera, because I gotta find like a photo for the video, so we don't be looking crazy. So we'll smile for a second, okay? All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. All right, everyone. So have a good weekend. Again, thanks again, and I will talk to you later.
Alrighty.
All right, bye.